Hi, my name is John McLeod Sr., better known as Mac. This is how I became the loudest sheep in the wilderness. So, I came to met who is now my wife in 2021. We met August at a business entrepreneurship event, and we clicked it off right away. Me and her pretty much was on the same wavelength as far as entrepreneurship, and she just needed that night. We talked all night. um I'm talking about all night. Literally, they had to kick us from down where we was at Penn's Landing. They kicked us out and told us we had to go home, and my wife gave me a ride home that night. I could have caught the bus, but she gave me a ride home that night. And from there, we was inseparable. We began to talk numerous of hours on the phone, and we spent a lot of time getting to know each other. Um, I'm not going to say unfortunately, because I want to make sure we clear. I believe my son's a blessing, but me and my wife began to have unmarital sex, and during that time, my wife was impregnated with my son. And so once she became pregnant, once it became known to me that she became pregnant, I then knew eventually I was going to have to face the music as far as telling my church and telling my ministry at the time that I was expecting a child out of wedlock. And to be honest with you, it was something I was dreading, so I delayed it probably as far as I probably could. I delayed it. And I remember like yesterday, the day I decided to tell everybody. I remember it. I was like, I'm just going to put a post on Facebook and tell everybody. And so that's exactly what I did. I put a post on Facebook of the ultrasound of my son, letting people know that I got a son on the way. And I knew it was only going to be a matter of time before the phone rung from certain folks. But it was one phone call I was waiting for, and I knew it was going to come, and it was from my man of God at the time. And when the phone call came, I remember looking at the phone, and I remember almost saying to God, I'm not going to answer this. And I remember God said, answer the phone. I answered it, and he said, hey. I said, hi. He said, I saw your post on Facebook. I said, yeah. And he said, so you're expecting a child? I said, yeah. He said, so you having sex out of wedlock? I said, yeah. He said, He said, okay. He said, well, we're going to prepare for the baby, but we know we have to deal with the sin. And I said, I'm quite sure of that. I understand that. He said, okay. Um, right now, until further notice, we want you just not to serve in your ministry until further notice, until I can get back to you, and until we can deal with what is going on a one-on-one. I said, okay. And just like that, I was pulled off all my ministries. I believe I was only in one ministry at the time anyway, but I was pulled off the ministry. I had about several assignments at that time. All of them was canceled. And at that moment, it was just me and my sin. And I remember when my son was born, how I felt so amazing. Just looking at his little face and realizing, like, man, look at a face that looked just like mine. And I remember God saying that that everything that was meant for your bad, I can work out for your good. everything that was meant for your bad, I can work out for your good. And so I looked at my son and I looked him in the face and I was just like, I promise you, I'm going to do right by you. But it was at that moment I realized that I'm in the wilderness by myself. And then I realized you're not by yourself. You have a son and a woman standing behind you, standing beside you now. But I said to myself, we be okay. We be okay. I remember repenting to God during the pregnancy. And I remember both of us making a commitment not to have sex during the pregnancy. And that lasted until we got married. We legitimately put off sex until we got married. I believe in the middle of the pregnancy, and a conviction hit both of us. Like, we got to stop doing this. This is the reason why we're here in the first place. And we cut off sex until we got married. And once we cut off sex until we got married, I began to see things clearer. I began to see things out of a better lens. And I just had to sit and just thank God for the things that he was doing, because I can see clearly now. And I remember going to God saying, am I forgiven for my sin? And God said to me, son, you're forgiven. Let's move forward. I remember raising my hands, tears rolling down my face, and saying, thank you, Lord, for your grace and your mercy.